The emergency session of the Galactic Council had entered its fourth day. That fact alone was unprecedented. Galactic law allowed for extended deliberation, only in cases of existential risk. Events so large that no single species could be allowed unilateral authority. Supernova containment, reality shear phenomena, invasive extragalactic intelligences, and now the Helior Rift. The rift was not alive. That was the problem. It was a spatial fracture stretching across 12 light-years, slowly widening, destabilizing trade corridors, disrupting gravity wells, and tearing entire systems out of alignment. It did not attack. It did not negotiate. It simply expanded, indifferent to borders and populations alike. Every major power had a proposal. None of them agreed. The chamber buzzed with overlapping voices, translated into a dozen sensory formats. Light patterns from energy beings clashed with phenomenal arguments from hive delegates. Predator species snapped and postured. Mathematical civilizations projected probability trees that contradicted one another by orders of magnitude. At the center dais, Speaker Zelvar Prime pulsed with restrained irritation. "The council will return to order," it intoned. The noise dimmed but did not disappear. "The issue before us," Zelvar continued, "is not whether the Helior Rift must be contained. It is how." A crystalline delegate flared sharply. "Your proposed solution collapses 6 peripheral systems." "A necessary sacrifice," replied the war-born Carthaxian envoy. "Better 6 than 60. "That is unacceptable," hissed the Avren Collective. "Your species does not inhabit those systems." Arguments spiraled again. Humanity had been present for all of it. Quietly, their delegation tables sat unadorned near the outer ring. No banners, no threat displays, no posturing. Just 3 humans in plain diplomatic attire listening. Ambassador Mara Ellison had not spoken in 2 days. That too was unusual. Umans nurmayarga. They debated morality. They challenged assumptions. They demanded consideration for civilian impact and secondary consequences. They were disruptive. But now they were silent. An Avren analyst noticed first. "The humans have not submitted a revised proposal," it whispered through shared data space. Another delegate responded, uneasy. "Perhaps they have none." Mara Ellison finally looked up. Her expression was calm, focused, tired in a way that suggested responsibility rather than fear. "Speaker servanotisiet." "Human delegation," it said. "You have been uncharacteristically quiet. Do you wish to contribute?" Mara inclined her head politely. "We already did," she said. Confusion rippled outward. "You rejected our model," Zelvar replied. "Along with every other proposal." Mara nodded. "Correct. Then what do you suggest?" She hesitated just a fraction of a second. "We suggest you continue," she said. "For now." The phrasing was odd. The council returned to argument. Hours passed. Outside the chamber, the Helior Rift widened by another measurable increment. 2 uninhabited systems destabilized. Emergency evacuations began along the outer edge. Inside the chamber, the debate grew sharper. "We cannot allow unilateral action," the crystalline delegate insisted. "Precedent will not matter if the rift reaches the core," shouted the Carthaxian. "Your fleets would only accelerate the collapse. And your hesitation ensures it." Mara Ellison watched, listened, took notes. Behind her, the other 2 humans worked quietly on data slates, occasionally exchanging murmured confirmations. At the 22nd hour of the 4th day, something changed. A junior systems aide interrupted the chamber, voice strained. "Speaker, external alert. Senvar flooded. This session is sealed." "It's not coming from us," the aide replied. "It's coming from everywhere." The chamber dimmed as real-time feeds overlaid the space. Human ships were moving. Not fleets. Networks. Civilian megastructures previously classified as infrastructure support were detaching from orbital anchors. Deep space fabrication arrays spun up. Energy collectors shifted alignment across multiple sectors. The movement was precise, coordinated, and already underway. "What is this?" demanded the Avren Collective. Mara Ellison stood. "We're initiating containment," she said calmly. The chamber erupted. You have no authority. This violates council law. You cannot act without consensus. Mara did not raise her voice. We waited 4 days, she said. The rift expanded the entire time. Sen varstillness shot beneath. Explain yourself, human Ellison. Immediately. Mara gestured and the feet sharpened. Human engineering platforms were deploying gravitational stabilizers, massive, modular constructs designed originally for starlifting and orbital correction. Energy signatures spiked, not violently but steadily like a system coming online. These were designed for controlled stellar manipulation, Mara said. We repurposed them. You cannot improvise on a phenomenon of this scale, snapped a delegate. We didn't, Mara replied. We planned for it. Silence crept in. You planned for the Helior Rift? Zelvar asked. Mara shook her head. We planned for something like it. The feet shifted. Archive data appeared, human disaster simulations decades old. Models predicting spatial instabilities. Contingency frameworks labeled not with specific threats, but categories. Unbounded expansion events. Nos ancient existentializers. Council deadlock scenarios. You planned for us to fail, the Carthaxian envoy said slowly. Mara met its gaze. We planned for time to matter, she said. The first stabilizer array activated. The Helior Rift's expansion rate slowed. Just slightly. Every delegate felt it. Probability models recalculated. Growth curves bent, not stopped but redirected. Gasps echoed through the chamber. That should not be possible, whispered the crystalline delegate. It isn't, said one of the humans quietly. Long term. Mara nodded. This isn't a solution. It's a pause. Then why act now? Senva demanded. Because pauses create space, Mara replied. And space is where solutions live. Council law flared red across the chamber. Unilateral intervention detected. Sanctions protocols began to initialize. Human assets would be frozen. Trade access revoked. Diplomatic status suspended. Mara did not react. We anticipated that, she said. Another feed appeared. Human logistics networks rerouted instantly. Supply lines shifted to autonomous chains. Neutral systems granted provisional access without formal treaties, agreements made years ago, quietly, contingently. You prepared for sanctions, Zelvar said, stunned. Mara nodded again. You prepared to ignore us, said the Avren. No metagerektiv. We prepared to act without you. The Helior Rift slowed further. Not by chance. By design. Every major galactic force recalculated threat postures. If humans could mobilize infrastructure of this magnitude without fanfare, what else had they built quietly? What happens next? Zelvar asked. Mara folded her hands. Now, she said. You decide whether you want to help or catch up. Outside the chamber, the galaxy watched humanity do something terrifyingly unfamiliar. They didn't demand control. They didn't seize power. They simply took responsibility, and they did not ask permission. The Helior Rift did not stop expanding. That fact became clear within hours. What changed was how fast. Council analysts ran the numbers again and again, each time arriving at the same conclusion. The growth curve had bent. Not dramatically, not enough to declare victory, but enough that evacuation windows widened, infrastructure stabilized, and secondary collapse scenarios slipped from inevitable to conditional. The humans had bought time. And time, the Council realized with dawning unease, was the most powerful resource in the galaxy. This is temporary, the crystalline delegate insisted, projecting rigid confidence into the chamber. Their structures will fail. Improvised systems always do. They're not improvised, the Avren Collective replied quietly. They're modular. More feeds appeared without being requested. Human fabrication arrays were already reinforcing the first wave of stabilizers. Redundant systems unfolded, locking into place like pieces of a puzzle designed long before the picture was known. Logistics drones streamed through corridors that had not existed hours earlier, guided by traffic systems that adapted in real time. It was not frantic. It was routine. Speaker Zelvar Prime pulsed with contained alarm. Human Ellison, it said. Your actions are still in violation of Council law. Mara Ellison inclined her head slightly. Yes. You continue regardless. Yes. The simplicity of the exchange unsettled the chamber more than defiance ever had. You place us in an impossible position, Zelvar said. If we sanction you, we weaken the containment effort. If we support you, we legitimize unilateral control. Mara considered that. Then perhaps the position was already impossible, she said. The Helior Rift flickered. Not visibly, but instrumentally. 1,000 sensors registered a momentary stabilization across multiple layers of spacetime. For the first time since the Rift's discovery, models projected a non-zero chance of managed resolution. The Council fell silent. One by one, delegates began issuing internal alerts to their home systems. Not calls to arms, calls to readiness. Because if humanity could deploy this level of infrastructure quietly, without declaration, without spectacle, then the galaxy had fundamentally misunderstood them. The Carthaxian envoy broke the silence. You did not seek command, it rumbled. Yet you now direct the largest coordinated operation in known history. Mara nodded. We're aware. Why? Demanded the envoy. Why not force compliance? Why not take control openly? Mara looked tired now. Not weak, just honest. Because control isn't the goal, she said. Continuity is. She gestured toward the feeds. You debate authority, she continued. We measure outcomes. The Rift doesn't care who's in charge. It cares whether it's fed energy in the right way at the right time. And if we disagree with your methods? The crystalline delegate asked. Mara met its gaze. Then you're welcome to propose something that works faster, she said. No one did. Sanctions protocols remained queued and used, because even the most rigid species understood the risk of interrupting something that was, for the first time, working. Across the galaxy, something else shifted. Independent systems began aligning their infrastructure with human standards, not through treaty but practicality. Human traffic algorithms handled rift-adjacent space better. Human emergency frameworks reduced losses. Human coordination protocols absorbed complexity without collapsing. They did not demand adoption. Others chose it. Within days, the Helior Rift's expansion slowed enough to halt emergency evacuations. Entire sectors stabilized at the edge of survivability. Council authority, meanwhile, eroded quietly. Delegates continued to argue, but fewer systems listened. They were too busy coordinating with the humans who were already doing. Speaker Zelvar requested a private channel with Mara Ellison. When it opened, the vastness of the chamber fell away, replaced by a simple interface. You have altered the balance, Zelvar said. Mara exhaled slowly. No, she replied. We revealed it. Zelvar considered this. For generations, it said. The Council existed to prevent unilateral action. Mara nodded. And most days that works. And when it doesn't? Mara was quiet for a moment. When it doesn't, she said, someone has to stand up and accept the consequences. And you accept them? Yes, Mara said without hesitation. The Helior Rift pulsed again. This time containment held. Across the galaxy, alerts downgraded from existential to critical. Hope, a rare, fragile thing in interstellar politics, flickered. Weeks later, the Council formally reconvened. Not to debate solutions. To ratify what had already happened. Human leadership of the containment effort was acknowledged, not granted. Oversight committees were formed that advised, rather than commanded. Resource pools flowed through human coordination hubs, because they were the only systems capable of processing them without delay. The Council still existed, but it no longer led. A junior aide asked Speaker Zelvar, during a quiet cycle, whether this concerned it. Senvad pausit. Power seized inspires resistance, it replied. Power assumed inspires scrutiny, but power exercised responsibly. The speaker's lights dimmed thoughtfully. That inspires reliance. On a human operations platform near the Rift, Mara Ellison watched stabilization metrics scroll past. One of her engineers approached. The Council's finalized the framework, he said. They're calling it a partnership. Mara smiled faintly. They would, she said. Are you worried, he asked, about how this looks? She glanced at the Rift, still dangerous, still contained. No, she said.